first time I recorded this video, all you could see in the frame was a picture of my head. I'd prefer you see at least my shoulders. But as I was leaving a club I go to earlier this night, I was walking out of the building and there was a newspaper, my school newspaper, sitting on the ground. I couldn't tell it was the newspaper at first. It had this Planned Parenthood ad sticking up on the side. That is not a negative. I think Planned Parenthood is awesome. Not meant to be anti-abortion in any way. On the front cover, you know, I picked it up and I flipped it over, and I see All Eyes on Green. It's got women's basketball, men's basketball, and hockey all on the front cover because we are in March. We are in Izzo season over here at Michigan State. Apologies. And it got me to think more about the college experience as a whole. I also flipped it open and saw, you know, a bunch of ads and more stuff about Michigan State life as a whole. I'm sure it's very dry trying to make a newspaper for every day or every week or how often the state news comes out. I don't know. I don't pick it up very often. But it got me to think more about college as a whole. If you were like me and you grew up on the internet a lot, you probably encountered videos talking about, you know, how school is awful. Namely secondary school, high school, for those of you that live in one of the greatest countries on this damn planet. Or, you know, whatever. I saw Boy in a Bands Don't Stay in School when I was 13 years old during the COVID pandemic, and being a 13-year-old kid sitting through online classes for 6 hours a day, I was like, yeah, I don't know why people actually sit through school. This shit sucks. I hate everyone and I hate myself. And, you know, in the more present day, I hear these right-wing talking heads, these right-wing figures on podcasts or in clips talking about how they don't like people coming out of college. If they were employers, they wouldn't hire kids that are coming out of college. They'd hire someone without a college degree because they're all talking and thinking the same. They're all robots, and they're all brainwashed by the woke mind virus or whatever the fuck you call it nowadays. And, like, obviously to a certain degree, all of those things are true. Everyone has a different college experience. For some people, it's just not for them. Schooling is not for every single person. But for the vast majority of people, college is an incredibly helpful experience that matters and changes your life. And this is coming from someone who wasn't sure that they were actually going to like college or even want to be here at the start of the year. Sorry. College is not for everyone, I will say that much. If you're thinking about going into trade school or the military or, you know, getting right into a job after high school, more power to you. Do what you need to do to make ends meet. Do what you need to do for your education or what you want out of life. I can't fault you for that. But this is meant for those kids that aren't sure if they're gonna like college, or maybe even for me to come back to in a year when I'm going through the shit in Calc 2, considering quitting and switching to business. College is awesome. I can't say enough positive things about the post-secondary experience and how awesome it is to get this opportunity. If you were like me and you went through secondary school pretty easily, you were an A student, A's and B's, you got through it, and then, you know, just kind of had to be in college after that. You know, it was that track you were already set on in life. I feel you. I understand exactly where you're at. You went on those college tours with your dad and mom, You got to see how awful some of those colleges are. God bless you with them, but that campus is awful. But it's not for everyone. College is not for everyone, and that knowledge itself makes you question whether or not it's for you. I understand not everyone has the means to go and just try college, go through a semester with not exactly what they want and just drop out and do something else. I'm not one of those people. I didn't have to take on a ton of debt to do college. I was very, very fortunate with my upbringing, but with location, family, and that kind of stuff. But I cannot afford to drop out and go start somewhere else. I can't afford that. I can't afford to drop out and take a gap year or anything like that. That's not something I can do. I have to stick through it now. And I would encourage those of you who are in the same situation, that same position as, 16-year-old me, going on those college tours, being worried about the SAT. Go to college. It's incredibly important. Get your college application filled out. Get your Common App done. All that stuff matters. College is an excellent experience, at least in my time here. I'm only a first-year student, so take this all with a little bit of a grain of salt. But I cannot recommend the experience more than what I'm going to say. There's a lot of really, really important things that you learn in college. If you are interested in only learning practical skills, I would say though, do not come to college. Do not go to a traditional college. Go to a trade school, maybe even a community college if that's what you would like. Community college is a lot cheaper and you can learn a lot of things in a community college. I know a lot of people that are doing that, and I know people that have done that. That is a totally valid, viable, and understandable way to do things. But if you're like me and are pursuing, I don't want to say a real degree, because all degrees are real, all degrees matter, all schooling matters. But if you're pursuing, college education, I should say, university, right? You're gonna really enjoy it if you're, you're probably gonna really enjoy it. That's all I can say. Sorry, I thought I heard a person coming up the stairs. I'm sorry. The things that I have seriously learned while being in college are not only practical skills. Obviously, you get that. There's a lot of that. But there's a lot more than just regular education. You get to learn more than just that. There's how to interact with other people. If you were like me again, and you went to a public high school, you got to interact with a lot of people in it. For me, the high school I went to had about 2,000 kids enrolled. Roundabout. I'm sure it fluctuated, but I think my freshman year was like 1,800 kids enrolled. You didn't interact with every single one of them every day, but you got to see a lot of people in a day. And you didn't talk to most of them. If you had to, you talked to probably 50 to 100 kids in one day, at most. Maybe your teacher said form up into groups and go work with the kid next to you, or whatever. And being in high school teaches you a lot about how to socialize as a teenager, but it doesn't teach you a lot about how to socialize at any larger location than just a high school. Being at college has taught me how to work with a lot of people people, how to be around a lot of people. You know, I don't go to a small college. I'm here at Michigan State, and my fall semester I had a chem lecture in the chemistry building that was 400 kids any given day. Probably closer to 500 if I was actually guessing. But you don't see that in high school. The only time you're going to see that many kids gathered in one room is for an assembly. And the college equivalent of an assembly is a lot larger than, 2,000 kids, 500, even 500 kids, right? Like, that getting to see that many people is weird. It's a really weird first time experience. If you've been in a big city like New York or Chicago or LA, you get to see a lot of people, and that's a weird experience. But you don't get to talk to most of them. They're just people walking by you on the street, in stores or whatever. At college, you get to interact with a lot of people. Like I said, that lecture was 500 kids. I had a recitation attached to that, which had about 30 kids in it, and I had a lab attached to that, which also had probably 40 kids in it. 40 kids sounds about right. And you'd interact with a lot of those kids every single week. And even outside of just your classes, you live in a dorm building. I live in the engineering dorms, just a little bit more that way, where my side of the hall is probably a good 50 kids, and I'm estimating, I really have no clue. Probably more than that, honestly, but who knows? Actually, probably less. But you get to interact with those people. Those people are at your hall meetings. Those people are on the elevator with you. Those people are in the laundry room waiting for their shit to get done. Those people are in your classes. And you get to interact with those people. You get to talk to them. You get to meet them. You get names. I have met multiple friends already through, I met a bunch of people on my floor within the first week of me being here. And you meet a lot of people really quickly. Make sure you take a drink of water, fluids, whatever you have next to you. I have a Mountain Dew because I got it from the convenience store. But you get to interact with a lot of people. People matter. And learning how to talk to a bunch of different people in one day is very important. Learning how to talk with a bunch of different people, like physically, mentally, upbringing wise, or whatever other factor different from you, is really important. And that knowledge really, really, really shapes how you're going to move through the world in the future. That is a valuable skill to have. And, meeting people is something that you're going to have to do when you're an adult. And past just that meeting people skill, right? You get to learn time management, I'll say that much. First 2 weeks of the semester, I'm in a physics class currently, and we have weekly homework every week. First 2 weeks I missed it because I didn't know what I was doing, completely forgot about it. I missed 2 quizzes in my math class because they were online, and I thought they were due the day after they were actually due. I turned one of them in probably a good 20% deduction on it, but it was fine. That time management is really important, and I think if you learn that skill quickly, it does you wonders. It's very important. And honestly, to go back to the social aspect of school, I don't think I would have gotten interested in so many things by being anywhere else. Like if I wasn't at this specific college, or if I was back home like some of my friends are. No shit. I do what you need to do. I'm not here to police. I would not have gotten interested in college if I didn't go to this. If I wasn't at a college, I didn't give a shit about college football or college basketball or even college hockey. Even when Western Michigan won the Frozen Four last year, that was a cool experience. Being in college. You know, I don't think I would have ever gotten into college sports. I just recently got into professional sports, 2 years ago, and being here has taught me about so many different things, and it's not just as trivial as sports. You get to learn a lot of new interests. You get to learn about a lot of new things. I didn't think I'd be interested in math at all until I got here. I know I'm in engineering, but math was like only something that was interesting once I got to like those really abstract concepts that were barely even math at that point, like infinities and set theory or whatever the fuck. But I didn't expect to want to learn about geometry or topology, or I didn't expect to want to learn about calculus. Those are cool things that you just kind of learn. You get into that, and you're like, oh, cool. Whether that's through assignments, like that interest in topology came out of an assignment in my English class where I had to interview someone, and I interviewed a math professor back home. That was a really interesting time to. It was a really interesting thing to learn about and to do projects on. Sorry, I don't script anything. I don't like scripts. I learned that in high school when I had to do projects when I had to do video projects for some of my classes. I do not like doing scripts, and I think they're kind of lame. I also don't like editing. That's why I'm filming this on an iPhone, and I'm probably just gonna save it to my Google Drive at some point. I understand that also monetarily, college is a big burden for people, right? Student loans are expensive. If you're not like me and you had to take out a lot more debt, college is hard. College means a lot because you need to get through these 4 years in order for that debt to actually mean something. And I'm here to tell you right now that when I'm online and I hear these right wingers talk about how they wouldn't employ anyone with a college degree, that is categorically false. Employers resoundingly pay more for people with college degrees. Having a college degree is the best way to improve your potential wages in the United States, period. I live in the U.S. I don't know what it's like outside of the U.S. College debt sucks. Debt sucks, period. And if you're gonna get debt for anything, it should be for something valuable, like a higher education that gives you many more opportunities once you're out of school, or a house or whatever on the capital gain. But that debt you accrue is valuable. It means that you put a lot of work and effort towards something. And paying it off sucks, but you're gonna be making more money anyways once you're out of college, if you can find a job. But that's a whole other subject. And overwhelmingly, the people that actually make change in this country are college-educated people. A lot, if not all, politicians went to college at some point in their life. I can't say the same for our media members, media figures, because of how popular alt media has gotten. It's not really alternative anymore because people don't watch cable anymore. That's a whole other thing. But a college degree is very important, and it shows people that you actually know what the hell you're talking about, at least to some degree. Depends on if that college degree is related or not to what you're actually learning, or to actually what you're talking about, I should say. But if you want to make change in the world, as Michael Jackson said, actually, take a look at yourself and make that change, right? You need to be the one to inspire change that you want to see in the world. And making it through a college degree is one of the hardest things you can do. And it shows a lot of mental fortitude and mental strength that other people do not have. You will be more mentally strong than those who do not complete college. And that is something that matters. This is all to say, college is a really, really important thing. And if you don't go through it, that's okay. It's a tough thing to go through, but it's worthwhile. I'm not through it. I'm 1 year in, not even a full school year in, but I can confidently say that I know it'll be worth it, and that if you're in the position that I was 2 years ago, where you're questioning whether or not you actually want to, and whether or not the world that your parents want you to have is realistic, if going to college actually means a better life for you, or if that world that they grew up in is even real, it's not anymore. I think anyone with eyes can tell you that the 80s, the 60s, the 50s don't exist anymore. The worlds that your parents and grandparents grew up in is not real. It hasn't been for decades. But you can make your slice of this pie, this current pie, better by investing in yourself, investing into your education, investing into your experience, and that matters. So go to college if you think it's for you, or even if you're questioning if it's for you. And it's okay to change degrees. Do not get stuck down and tied into one degree. I know a lot of people on my floor are gonna transfer out, go pursue business or whatever at U of M. More power to them. More power to them. The degree that you think you want to do when you come into college is not what probably isn't what you're gonna want to come out of college doing. One of my good friends wanted to come in doing chemical engineering, and that just didn't pan out for him. It was a hard degree, and this is no shade to him because it's very tough. And so he transferred to do chemistry, and he wasn't even sure if he even wanted to be on chemical engineering anymore. He wanted to make that change, and that's okay. Don't get hard set in your first choice. Your first choice is not always the best choice. That's something that I wouldn't say I learned from my engineering design class, but it is something that class really instilled in me, is like your first design in the context of that class is not always the best. And your first choice when it comes to doing anything is not always the best. Thank you for listening to me talk. It was a privilege. Have a good night. Stay in school. Go green.